Items. Aodh. Oh, however you say that. Long ago, a soldier from Guaran was returning home after 20 years at war. He had sold his sword for passage to Bannorn and had to make his way through the Brazilian forest with nothing to his name but a single crust of bread. On his way he met an old blind woodcutter sitting on a tree stump. "Here is someone worse off than myself," said the soldier, and he gave the old man his last scrap of bread. The old man blessed him and gave the soldier his axe in return. The soldier went on his way, and soon fell night. He made his bed in a tree branch and held the woodcutter's axe at his side to ward against the beasts and bandits. When the moon was high, he was awakened by the sound of weeping. "Show yourself," he shouted, for try as he might, the soldier could find no one nearby. "Help me," spoke the tree in which he'd been sleeping. "A mage transformed me into this shape, and I will never be set free. If you had any pity in you, you would cut me down, so that my spirit could go to the Maker." So the soldier took up his axe and struck the tree. The cuts bled like wounds, and soon hot blood covered the axe and burned the soldier's hands. But he held tightly to the axe and felled the tree. The tree shattered when it hit the ground, and from the splinters rose a demon, who bowed to the soldier and vanished into the fade. The soldier was chilled to the bone and could not sleep. In the morning he found that the axe still burned like blood on like the blood of the sylvan, but despite its heat he could not get warm again. They say he ended his days in Guaran, cutting wood for his 7 fireplaces, shivering and cursing the spirits. The Magister's shield. On the very day that the final stone was set into place in the Grand Cathedral of Vollen, Archon Vespasian was assassinated. For 3 days every Magister Lord of the Imperium lived behind a wall of armored guards. When his successor Hadarius was finally named Archon, the first enchanter of the Circle of Minrathous presented him with a gift, a silvery, unadorned chain made from pure lyrium. Enchantments had been worked into the links of the chain so that donning this necklace was like holding up a shield. Blows struck at the wearer glanced harmlessly away. Unfortunately, Hadarius found that the shield did not protect him against poison nearly so well. Culture and history. The Anderfels. The Anderfels are a land of shocking extremes. It is the most desolate place in all the world, for 2 blights have left great expanses of the steppes so completely devoid of life that corpses cannot even decay there. No insect or grub will ever reach them. It is a land filled with wonders like the Dane, It is a land filled with wonders like the Dane, with its gigantic white statues of Our Lady carved into its face, her hands outstretched and bearing an eternal flame, or Weishaupt fortress with its walls of living rock towering over the desolate plains below. The Anders, too, are a people of extremes. The most devout priests and the most deadly soldiers, the poorest nation in the world and the most feared. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Jenny TV. Yes, thanks. The Bannorn. The central Ferelden Valley has always been a paradox. No single ban holds more than a few dozen leagues of farmland, yet together they govern a greater territory than all the Tans and Arls combined. This collection of independent bans is known as the Bannorn, and it is the heart of Ferelden politics. No person has ever sat upon the throne of Ferelden without first winning the approval of the Bannorn. Queen Fionn, who had the misfortune to take the throne in the 18th year of the Steel Age, wrote of the Bannorn, "There have been 3 wars this year fought over elopements, 5 fought over wool, and 1 started by an apple tree. It isn't even winter yet. Who would believe that these same bands, now trying so hard to kill one another, just last year united to give me the crown?" From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. History of Ferelden, Chapter 2. The occupation was a dark blot on Ferelden's history. Our people, who from time immemorial valued their freedom over all else, were forced to bow to Orlesian rule. The Empire declared our elves property and sold them like cattle. Chevaliers routinely plundered freeholds of coin, food, and even women and children, and excused it as taxation. And for 70 years no lands meets were held, for the imperial throne had declared our ancient laws a form of treason. King Brandel was one of those who escaped. He tried to organize the other fugitive lords to retake their land, but Brandel was neither clever nor persuasive, and the nobles preferred to take their chances alone. Ferelden might still be little more than a territory of the Empire were it not for the fact that his daughter had all the charisma that her royal father lacked. The rebel queen's rule began with a midnight attack on the Imperial armory at Lothering. It was swift and successful, and with their pilfered arms, the rebels began campaign against the Odesian in earnest. But the turning point of the war came when a young freeholder joined the Queen's army. The lad Logain MacTier possessed a remarkable talent for strategy and quickly became the favorite advisor of young Prince Merrick. The Queen finally died at the hands of her Legion sympathizers, anxious to curry favor with their painted masters, and Merrick took her place as the leader of the rebellion. Logain became Merrick's right hand. Merrick and Logain led the rebels in a new campaign against the Orlesian oppressors, culminating in the Battle of River Dane, where the last chevaliers in Denerim were crushed. With the capital once more in the hands of the Fereldens, the battle to free our people was finally over. But the battle to rebuild what had been lost had only just begun. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Culture of Ferelden. The Fereldens are a puzzle. As a people, they are one bad day away from reverting to barbarism. They repelled invasions from Tevinter during the height of the Imperium with nothing but dogs and their own obstinate disposition. They are the coarse, willful, dirty, disorganized people who somehow gave rise to our prophet, ushered in an era of enlightenment, and toppled the greatest empire in history. There are a few things you can assume safely in dealing with these people. First, they value loyalty above all things, beyond wealth, beyond power, beyond reason. Second, although they have nothing in their entire country which you are likely to think at all remarkable, they are extremely proud of their accomplishments. Third, if you insult their dogs, they are likely to declare war. And finally, the surest sign that you have underestimated the Fereldens is that you think you have come to understand them. Empress Celine I of Orlais, in a letter to her newly appointed ambassador to Denerim. Oh well, that's harsh. The Free Marshes. The Free Marshes are not a kingdom, nor even a nation in the most basic sense. People from that region dislike even being lumped together as marches. Rather, they are a collection of independent city-states, united only when it suits them. In this respect, they resemble the Bannorn before the arrival of King Calenhad. Because of this, the Free Marshes have no capital, and what passes for a central government exists only sporadically, a sort of landsmeet that convenes only during times of crisis. I have arrived in time for the grand tourney while it was on in Tantavel, a remarkable sight indeed. I saw Avar hillsmen test their mettle against Orlesian chevaliers, riders from the Anderfels buying Navaran cavalry horses, and even craftsmen selling their wares to Tevinter mages. All of Thedas was on display. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Jenny TV. Highever. Castle Highever has stood since the Divine Age, when it was not an independent Bannorn, but merely an outpost of the growing Bannorn of Amaranthine, in the days before Amaranthine became an Arling itself. The outpost of Highever was originally held by the Elston family, cousins of the house. In the Age of Towers, however, Ban Conobar Elston was murdered by his wife Flemeth, thus ending the bloodline. Conobar's captain of the guard, Sarim Cousland, took the lands and title. The Couslands declared their independence from Amaranthine, starting a war that lasted 30 years. When the dust settled, Highever was on its own, and in possession of half of the land that had once been southwest Amaranthine. Highever became a Terranin during the Black Age, where Haelia Cousland gathered the lords together under her banner to drive the werewolves out of their lands, earning herself the title of Terna almost as an afterthought. Today, Highever is one of only two remaining Terniers, making the Cousland family second in rank only to the king. Arl of Amaranthine was named the new Tern of Highever under somewhat questionable circumstances, and the fate of the Cousland family is now uncertain. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Vollen. In the 30th year of the... Really now. Vollen. The occupied north. In the 30th year of the Steel Age, the first Qunari ships were sighted on the coast of Vollen in the far north, marking the beginning of a new age of warfare. History calls this the First Qunari War, but it was mostly a one-sided bloodbath, with the Qunari advancing far into the mainland. Qunari warriors in glittering steel armor carved through armies with ease. Their cannons, the likes of which our ancestors had never seen, reduced city walls to rubble in a matter of seconds. Stories of Qunari occupation vary greatly. It is said they dismantled families and sent captives to learning camps for indoctrination into the religion. Those who refused to cooperate disappeared into mines or construction camps. Constitution, that doesn't even make sense. For every tale of suffering, however, there is another of enlightenment deriving from something called the Qun. This is either a philosophical code or a written text that governs all aspects of Qunari life, perhaps both. One converted Saharan reported pity for those who refused to embrace the Qun, as if the conquerors had led him to a sort of self-discovery. For all my life I followed the Maker wherever his path led me, he wrote, but in the Qun I have found the means to travel my own path. It has been said that the most complete way to wipe out a people is not with blades, but with books. Thankfully, a world that had repelled 4 blights would not easily bow to a foreign aggressor, and so the exalted marches began. The greatest disadvantage of the Chantry-led forces was the circle of Magi. For all their technology, the Qunari appeared to harbour great hatred for magic. Faced with cannons, the Chantry responded with lightning and balls of fire. The Qunari armies lacked the sheer numbers of humanity. So many were slain in Marlo's Pale on both sides that the Vale is said to be permanently sundered, the ruins still plagued by restless corpses. But each year the Chantry pushed further and further into Qunari lines, although local converts to the Qun proved difficult to return to Andraste's teaching. By the end of the Storm Age, the Qunari were truly pushed back. Rivain was the only human land that retained the Qunari religion after being freed, and its rulers attempted to barter peace. Most human lands signed the Lomarin Accord except the Tevinter Imperium. It is a shaky peace that has lasted to this day. From The Exalted Marches, an examination of Chantry warfare by Sister Petrine, Chantry scholar. Characters. Do I have something on you? I don't think. No. Arl Eamon Guerrin. His health restored, Eamon called a lance meet with the goal of wresting power from Loghain and placing Alistair on the throne. Well, that wasn't much. Meditations and Odes to Bees. O fair damsel of the garden, our lesser of honeysuckle and rose, I humbly beg your gracious pardon for the offence that here arose. Surely your work is far too vital to be interrupted by one like me. I am in no way entitled to earn the notice of a honey-bee. I was a fool to pluck that flower for my lady fair. On my honour I swear to bring you dozens more within the hour, if you give me leave to try. Listen, traveller, if you would walk the garden path some spring, mind that you don't trespass, for the gardeners do sting. Anonymous, yeah, I think. The Legend of Calenhad, Chapter 3. Calenhad's legend tells that Lady Shayna harboured a love for her king that went beyond friendship, a love that she had kept secret out of her sense of duty and honour. When offered a love potion by a witch in disguise, a witch who would later turn out to be the vengeance-seeking sister of Arl Simeon, Lady Shayna gave in to temptation. She used the potion on Calenhad, but Queen Mairin discovered the two of them together that night, and broken-hearted fled Denerim to return to her father. She told Merdin everything, and he angrily threatened to revoke his support of Calenhad and begin anew the civil war. It is said that Lady Shayna felt remorseful at her manipulation of the best friend's heart, and confessed her use of forbidden magic to the court. Although her life was forfeit, Calenhad forgave Lady Shayna for what she had done, and refused to have her executed. Merdin furiously roused the other Arls against Calenhad and Lady Shayna, and it was not long before Ferelden stood on the brink of civil war once again. Against Calenhad's orders, Lady Shayna went alone to Mairin to plead for peace and plead her case, only to be found out by Merdin and slain. Angered but also saddened, Calenhad challenged Merdin to an honour duel, a fight neither of them wanted but both knew was necessary, and Merdin was slain. The death of the king's greatest ally, an important Arl, was too much for the young kingdom to bear. The other Arls would not back down in their claims against Calenhad. The threat of civil war rose once again. Calenhad went to his wife one last time then, although none know what he said to her, and then he simply vanished. He left with Mairin the proclamation abdicating his throne in favour of the son his queen carried in her belly, who eventually ascended to the throne as King Wayland I, the king credited with establishing the Therian dynasty lasting to this day. Calenhad would never reappear. The legend of Calenhad himself only grew over time. His stories and tidings multiplied, even long after the point when Calenhad could possibly still be alive. Some say he disappeared into the Correspondence Wilds, or went to live with the dwarves, or even became a monk in a reclusive Chantry Aodh. The Chantry named Calenhad one of the anointed in 788 Storm. Calenhad's sword, Nemesis, was left with Merin and became a symbol of Ferelden kingship over the next century. Rumors of its magical powers grew, and when it was lost in the ambush that killed King Bannorn in 824 Blessed, it was seen as a great blow to the Therian line. Several false swords have appeared since then, but never has a true sword surfaced. From the Legend of Calenhad by Brother Heron, Chantry Scribe 810 Blessed. Not our Heron though. Dane and the Werewolf. Let me sing of heroes and honor lost and found, of monsters and men in all forms, of Dane, hunter without peer, feared by the forests of Ferelden, with one autumn morn spied, a heart of pure white in beam of warmest sun, a prize for a huntsman's spear. Through the greenwood they ran, hardened hunter, bringing the stag to despair, at last in long-forgotten grove, heedless that the chase had waked a hunger in the golden wood, a werewolf, a creature with mind of man, lured by the hunt, and come forth to lay claim to the heart as rightful tribute, drawn by the scent of cooling blood. In silence the two hunters held. Dane, spare-armed against the wolf with all his brood, knew with sinking heart he was lost, steeled for the winding roads of the fate. Then the beast spoke, human-like in voice. You have taken the stag from my woods and my pack, but nothing comes without a cost. The wolf pack circled ever closer, and he, who felled boars and bears with his bright blade, knew fear. They spoke his name in roars, like gravestones, offering a beast's bargain. Die here, huntsman, alone, and forgotten, or take my place amongst the wolves, as I take your place amongst men. Thus was a bargain struck, and Dane the wolf pack served in wolven form, and the werewolf to his family sped as Dane. 1 year as a day told, and a day all told. But some things cannot be repent, some coinage cannot be unspent, when hearts are wagered a fisher rent. From the saga Dane and the Werewolf, as recorded by the minstrel Occam, 4th 85 Black. Feast day fish. Fluffy mackerel pudding. 2 stalks celery, 1 green pepper, half a pound of poached mackerel, 1 small onion finely diced, 2 teaspoons or tablespoons? That will be teaspoons. Teaspoons mustard, 1 teaspoon salt, half teaspoon ground Antivan pepper, 1/8 teaspoon ground mace, dash ground cardamom seed, 2 eggs beaten, 2 eggs boiled and sliced for garnish. This book, found in Arl Eamon's estate, naturally falls open to this page. Perhaps I'll try that even. Why not? Notes. Binding the 4th corpse walker. You deny our dead the rest, and so it always will be hounded. Let the strength of our union bind you by your true name. Come, Metha Haggard, revenant and perversion of an honoured father, though no spirit cage will undo what was suffered, undrast the hold, you demon, and bind your rage for eternity. 6 thumbprints in blood mark the end of the text. That was the last one. Oh Lord, I banned for you and because of you. Age raise height again with the differences. Delicate matter, we had that. Miss Ambrose, Darling, when next we meet. Alfred. I don't know exactly. I may not have read that. Donegan, on pain of death you are now warned. My father found the letters you previously sent and is watching as I write to tell you that our relations are over. We must remain chaste. Patricia. We've had this, we've had that. We had that, we had that. My love, I long to dance you beneath the moonlight, our hearts beating like the paired wings of a dove, in concert with the glory of the Maker and the beauty of the world that we must shepherd in his absence. Join me in a purity that will last the ages, when the brothers mark the chant of light anew. With all my soul, Eric de Nolbon. Scribbled below in a delicate hand, Otter's pocket, he's earned it tonight. Feast the gifts, credits, okay, nope. And the pranks too. I'm not reading out credits, sorry. Especially since I'm not even using it. Order of Emer Thorogood. We know they are out there, and they will move when their fellow bearmen call them out. Watch for their sign and slaughter the lot. They will know it is coming, and probably abandon the poor sap of a messenger, but even in that our message will be sent with an authority theirs cannot have, by order of Emer Thorogood.